Beggar thy neighbor is a policy where one country will try to solve its own economic problems, right? So every country has some or the other economic problem going on, right? So when one country decides to solve its economic problems, what happens is, like, consider an economic problem like unemployment can be one, right? We know that unemployment is an economic problem. What other economic problem can you think of? It can be growth, right? And growth will be an economic problem when the growth will be slow, right? So any kind of economic problem, when like unemployment or growth or any other economic problem, when a country is trying to solve its own economic problems, unknowingly it will shift these problems onto other countries. What is happening that this country is shifting its problems onto other countries. Now how is this shift happening? We need to focus here on this shift part, right? And what is the way of shifting this problem? So the most common way, if you ask me, is by weakening your own currency. This is by weakening your own currency. Now how does this impact other countries is what we're going to discuss in this particular video, right? Okay, so let's say that we have a situation here, right? We have a situation that I have country A. Let's say I have country A with me, and this country is facing recession. Okay, so what happens in recessions? We know that there are no jobs. We will not see jobs, right? We'll not see enough production happening, right? Firms will be closing down, factories would be shutting down, and people would be losing their jobs. There will be no production part happening in the economy, right? And the government is clearly under a lot of pressure during a recession period, right? So what will the government do? The government will say that, okay, let us do one thing. Let us make our currency a bit cheaper, right? So the government will say that let us make our currency cheaper. So when the government decides that it wants to make its currency cheaper, what happens next? So they will want to devalue their currency. If they follow fixed exchange rate, they would want to devalue their currency. And if they follow flexible exchange rate, they would want to depreciate their currency. Are we very clear with this? The difference between devaluation and depreciation, right? So if they are following fixed exchange rate, they would want to devalue their currency. If they follow flexible exchange rate, they would want to depreciate their currency, right? Now what will happen next? Either you devalue your currency or you depreciate your currency. The one impact that we see is that your exports will become cheap. Your exports become cheaper because you are either devaluing or depreciating. So your exports will become cheaper because your currency is cheap. Because your currency is cheap for foreign countries, so your exports increase, right? Your exports are cheaper, so foreigners will buy more of your stuff, right? Now also there is one side to it, that exports become cheap, but what about imports? Because my currency is weak, can I bring in more imports into my country? The answer is no, because imports will become expensive, right? Imports will become expensive because my currency is weak, right? We are clear with this idea, right? So my local people are going to buy less foreign goods. My local people are going to buy less foreign goods. Okay. So, but because my exports are cheap and I will become an exporting nation. So I am country A, right? So country A, because it's exporting a lot, what will happen? It has to increase production because it is an importing nation now. So it will improve its production. And when production will increase, what is going to happen? Firms will be hiring more, there will be more hiring happening, and when firms will hire more, jobs will come back into the country. There will be more jobs because we are an exporting nation now. We will improve our production, and we will be hiring more. Unemployment will decrease and jobs would increase, right? So domestic industries kind of revive, right? Domestic industries will revive. Now this sounds great, right? But what is the next thing that happens? So country A is clearly in a position where jobs have increased, production has also increased, but there is just one downside to it, that imports have reduced. We can't import because imports are expensive, right? So now let's come to the neighbor part, because the topic is beggar thy neighbor, right? So who is my neighbor? Let's say my neighbor is country B is my neighbor, right? So what has happened, that country A has devalued its currency, right? So I'll write it here, country A has devalued or depreciated. I will use them interchangeably, so just don't get confused. Country A has devalued its currency, right? So country A, after devaluing, realized that it has increased its exports. Okay, so country A has increased its exports. Now, what about country B's exports? What about country B's exports? What will happen to its exports? Because country A has increased its exports because its exports are cheaper. So it can be possible that country B will realize that its exports are expensive as compared to country A. Okay, because country B has not devalued its currency, right? So it's this country B's exports are expensive only to the rest of the world, and country A is at an advantage because it has devalued its currency and its exports are now cheap. But zaruri nahi hai that country B will also be in a position where it can also say that its exports are cheap. Okay, so we realize that country B's exports become more expensive in comparison. This is all in comparison. Okay, this is in comparison. Now what next? What is the next step that will happen? So country B, because its exports are expensive, country B is going to lose on trade, right? Because nobody is going to export from country B, or we can say nobody's going to import from country B, and country B is not going to export more because it realizes that its exports are expensive. So it will lose on the trade part, it will lose on jobs, right? Because in country B, because there are not enough exports happening, there will be lesser jobs available, right? And country B's economy is going to suffer. So economy is also going to suffer, economy is also going to suffer a lot. Now, what happened in this entire situation? If you analyze this, what has happened? So something like this has happened, that country A fixed itself. This fixed itself. And how did it fix itself? It fixed itself by devaluing the currency, right? But in the process of doing so, in the process of fixing itself, what has country A done? It has hurt country B. It has hurt country B's economy. It has hurt country B, right? This is the beggaring part, because our topic is beggar thy neighbor, right? So this is the beggaring part right here, that this means that you are making your neighbor poor. You are making your neighbor poor. By improving your condition, you are making your neighbor poor, right? So that is why this topic is beggar thy neighbor policy, right? So you're making your neighbor poor, right? So but okay, this was just about two countries, country A and country B, but we have a lot of other countries, right? So what happens if country B realizes that its economy is failing? Country B is not going to sit idle. What it is going to do is that this will also devalue its currency. Country B is also going to devalue its currency because it's not going to sit idle, right? It is also going to devalue its currency. And when it does devalue its currency, the same cycle is going to repeat, that country B's exports are also going to become cheaper. Exports are cheaper, so country B can also improve its economic situation from here, just like country A did. But then it will hurt country C. Like country A hurt country B, similarly, country B is also going to hurt country C, right? But country C is not going to sit idle, it is also going to devalue its currency, right? Then it is going to hurt country D. And this cycle would go on and on and on. This is a cycle, this is a trap. Because what is happening right here? We can see that everybody is devaluing their currency. What is happening? Everybody is devaluing their currency. And nobody is winning clearly, because I will devalue, you will get hurt. Then you will devalue, someone else will get hurt. When they will devalue, someone else will get hurt, right? So nobody is benefiting out of this situation, right? And the second major thing that is of concern that is happening here is that trade volume will collapse. Trade volume is going to collapse. Now, why do I say so? Because if everybody is devaluing right here, then मैम आपने अभी बताया कि exports are going to become cheap. Exports तो cheap होंगी, so everybody is exporting. So what's the problem? But do you realize that everybody is hurting each other and the trade volume is eventually going to fall, right? Because everybody thinks that their exports are cheap, but in comparison, can we really say that? No, right? So trade volume is going to collapse, trade volume is going to fall a lot, right? And when trade volume in the world level falls, what happens to the world economy? We are talking about the economy of the world. What happens to the world economy? The world economy is going to shrink. Why the world economy is going to shrink? Because the trade volume has collapsed, right? So if you can recall, and if you remember what happened during the Great Depression, the Great Depression, do you remember the period of Great Depression? Great Depression happened in 1930s, right? So during the Great Depression a similar thing happened, right? Because countries kept devaluing, they kept devaluing, and they were devaluing competitively, and this made the global recession go even further, right? So the global recession became even worse. So this was the exact reason why Great Depression also happened, right? Now there is we have just discussed one method of doing begging by weakening your own currency, but there are other methods as well. We'll quickly take a look at those. What are the other forms of beggar thy neighbor policy? I'll write here other forms. So what can be the other forms that you can hurt other countries? So it's not just currency devaluation, right? You can also use tariffs. And in the recent times, this word tariff has become really famous, right? Thanks to Trump. But now we all know what tariffs are, right? So how is tariff going to hurt other country? If I, for example, I am USA and I imposed tariff on, let's say, India. So how is it going to hurt India? Because I will be taxing on imports. Okay, I will be taxing on imports, right? So when I'm taxing on imports, what happens that I am USA, and if you send me your stuff from India, I am going to tax that. Okay, this means tax on imports, right? So I'm taxing my imports, and this in a way protects my local industries. My local industries are protected because imports become expensive because it is taxed, right? So imports are expensive, and my citizens are going to buy from the local industries only. They're not going to buy your products, your foreign products. But then if I'm protecting my local industry, what happens to the foreign exporters? Foreign exporters can be, for USA foreign exporter is India, right? So what is going to happen to foreign exporters? So foreign exporters will not be able to export, and they will get hurt. Foreign exporters will get hurt. So tariff is one way that we can hurt other countries. What are other forms? So there is something called as export subsidies. Now what are export subsidies? So this means that the government pays the exporters, right? Government will pay the exporters to sell cheap abroad, right? So see what happens. Let's say कि हमारे पास इंडिया है, we have India, and India wants to export to, let's say, कौन सी कंट्री ले सकते हैं हम, let's say USA only, okay? So what is happening that Indian government will pay the Indian exporters, जो इंडिया की firms हैं, Indian government is going to pay those firms, and it will provide it subsidy. ठीक है, इट विल प्रोवाइड इट सब्सिडी, एंड इट विल आस्क कि यू सेल चीप ओनली. ठीक है, आप अपने, लेट्स से देर इज सम प्रोडक्ट in Indian currency which is, let's say, of 1100 rupees, because this is the, production cost plus ऑल द लेबर कॉस्ट प्लस फर्म ने इसमें से अपने प्रॉफिट के लिए भी पैसे अलग से ऐड किए होंगे. सो ऑल ऑफ दिस, एंड इसके ऊपर से द गवर्नमेंट इज सेइंग दैट आई विल प्रोवाइड यू, चलो आई विल प्रोवाइड यू 300 का सब्सिडी, आई विल प्रोवाइड यू 300 का सब्सिडी, बट यू डोंट सेल एट 1100, यू सेल इट एट चीप, सो दैट यूएसए में लोगों को दिस प्रोडक्ट दे कैन गेट इट इन चीप, they can get it in less price. And what will happen in this manner, because USA mein my product is reaching in a lesser price, at a lesser price my product is being received by the US citizens, तो US के लिए Indian goods are cheap, Indian goods उनके लिए cheap है, so this is going to hurt US के firms. ठीक है, so this is something which is export subsidy. Okay, and then currency manipulation we have discussed only. What is currency manipulation? How do you manipulate your currency, right? Currency manipulation. So you artificially try to keep your currency weak. Currency manipulation is when you artificially keep your currency weak, right? This is something that you do, and this is called as currency manipulation. So your currency looks weak to other countries, which means that your exports are cheap and you will be able to boost your economy, but in the process of boosting your economy you are going to hurt other countries, right? So all of these methods that we have discussed here, all of these tariffs or import subsidies, export subsidies, and currency manipulation, all of this will boost the home country. They are going to boost the home country, but they are going to hurt the trading partners. right? They're going to hurt the trading partners. And why is it harmful globally? If we look at it from a global lens, why is it harmful? Because this invites retaliation, right? Because when I am doing something that I know is going to hurt the other country, I also know that that country can do the same. So this is called as retaliation, because trade wars can start happening, right? If I impose tariff on your country, you can also do the same to me, right? You can also impose tariff on my products, so my exports, right? So this is what retaliation is, because this can invite trade wars, right? And trade wars can go out of control. Then global trade is going to fall, like we discussed. Global trade is going to shrink because everyone ends up being worse off, right? And this is also a zero sum game that we study in economics, right? Zero sum game. What is zero sum game? A zero sum game means that one country's gain is equal to other country's loss, right? So one country's gain is another country's loss, so it's a zero sum game also, right? And this also, lastly, we can also say that this breaks international trust, because if we are trading partners, I trusted you that you won't play any trick on me, right? You won't devalue your currency and boost your economy, and when you know that this is going to hurt my country. So this is what it means to break international trust. And lastly, let's discuss some examples also, some world examples of beggar-thy-neighbor policy. So the very important example, and we all know, is the US China trade war that's currently also going. Okay, and this started from 2018. Okay, and now it's still in the process of happening. So what is happening in this case, that they are imposing tariffs on each other, right? They're imposing tariffs back and forth. So this is one of the very classic examples of beggar thy neighbor policy. Then, like I told you, Great Depression. तो बहुत ही obvious है, Great Depression is a very classic example, right? Competitive devaluation in Great Depression 1930s में. Then China's currency policy. You can also mention China's currency policy, because US has been constantly accusing China that for years China has kept the yuan, which is China's currency, artificially weak, right? So that it can boost its export. So this was about the beggar thy neighbor policy under the Mundell-Fleming model that we just discussed. Thank you.